Hello again, this is UML Operator. All right, more fun stuff. In this session, we're going to add a diagram to our list detail report that we've been building over the last session or two. So I assume you've watched the last two videos. The first one was on getting started with Sparx custom reporting, the basics. The second one was simple Sparx EA reporting, basics continued. So let's get started. All right, so far we have started a custom report from scratch with some simple content items. We also added some static content to our report, and we added a table, formatted the table, and we inserted some elements into the table cells to make the report more readable. So once again, let's look at what this report looks like in current state. We're going to go to the package that we want to report on. We're going to hit the function key 8 to bring up our dialog box, generate documentation dialog box. We still have the template that we've been testing and building on, list details in here. We're going to go ahead and step on this output file, and let's go ahead and hit generate. So we've generated, let's hit view, and there we go. So we have the main parent package, manage. We've got the individual use cases under header 2. We have authored by some notes. We have a table with the source and target, in the report. So here we go. Now we're going to add a diagram to this. All right, so let's close this report. You never want to have the report open, otherwise you get an error when you're going to generate it because it's locked and it's already open. So we want to put a diagram element into this report. Do you need to be in any particular section to do that? And the answer is no. So what we're going to do is just anywhere in the page we want to be, we're going to select diagram. So we've added a diagram in the proper place between the proper tags for this report. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. You have diagram right here. Now we've inserted it. We're going to go ahead and, so I just want to put a line space underneath it. We're going to right click, just like we've done in the previous sessions, insert field, and these are the choices we have. We're going to start with a diagram image. That's all we're going to do. So we have diagram image tag in there. Now let's go ahead and take this out because we don't need that in our report. Let's hit save. Let's go to the package we want to report on. Let's hit function key 8. It brings up the dialog box. And let's go ahead and step on this one, generate. There we go, view. And we should have a diagram. I don't have a diagram. Why don't I have a diagram? So the reason we don't see the diagram, and we're going to go over to this particular diagram that we wanted to report on, this one right here. And someone, probably me, has checked on exclude image from documentation. So we're going to turn that off. We're going to hit OK. We're going to go back to the package we want to report on. We want this diagram to show up. Doesn't matter where I am, right? I'm going to hit function key 8, bring up the dialog box. We're going to leave everything the same. Hit generate, hit view, and there's our diagram, all right? So if I go back, I centered this. I could put it on the left, justified, right, justified, or centered. I have it centered and the diagram centered. In the document, I can resize it, but I'm not going to. You know, you can resize here, but what's the point? You're not saving this. Let me hit no, don't save that. In here, can you say what a diagram is, such as do things like fit screen? The answer is no, and I wouldn't worry about it. So what I'm going to do next is move this to the left. We're going to put a line space in here. We're going to add some other fields. So insert, and we want to put in, not figure, we're going to put in author, right? So I have author tag in there, but I want authored by. By something like that. Could put a colon in. Good enough. The font is still defaulted at Times New Roman. I'm not worried about that right now. I like to leave it this way to see my edits when I run the report. So when I hit save, we go to manage inventory, the package we want to report on. We hit F8 to bring up our dialog box, and we're going to hit generate because we're leaving everything else the same during this testing, and view. And now I have authored by, right? And I can see what's changed. Now maybe I want to have a line space between the notes and the diagram. Maybe I want to have a line space between the diagram and when we start bringing in the elements. But you can do that. We're going to go ahead and close this by just simply going, well, I have my diagram right here, right? I want to have a line space there, and I want to have a line space after. Let's go ahead and hit save. Function key 8 again on the package we want to test or report on. Leave everything the same. Generate, view, and now I have a line space here and a line space here. So you can tailor your reporting template the way that it feels best to you. You can make all of this centered during your design. You can actually do it in this. Just remember, you got to go over here and do it. Otherwise, it's not going to stick. And you can play around with different things. All right. All right. So let me move this back over to the left. Just hit Control A for everything. I come up here, hit V for Verdana. I like everything Verdana. So we're going to set it to that. We're going to go to the package we want to report on, hit function key 8, bring up the dialog box, generate, yes, step on it, view, and there we go. So we're back here on the report layout. Now let's look at this in Word, because I'm getting questions already about, well, what if I want, the page is breaking where I don't want it to. So what if I want to, just like I can in Word, put these together? I'll talk about that in another session. I always ask, why do you need to do that? Who's printing out on paper anymore? Aren't they viewing it in a web form or web layout, navigating? Because I'm also getting questions about, can I put in a table of contents? The answer is yes. But why do you need to do that? You know, if they're bringing it up in Word, they're able to navigate because you set this to header 1, you set these to header 2, and you're able to look at the navigation. So let's look at this in Microsoft Word. So here's what this report looks like in Word. We had Sparx generate this as a docx file. You could generate it as an RTF or even a PDF, but I don't do that. Print a docx, or I print to RTF, and then I render it in a web form. So right now we're in paper layout. So if I go to view, you all should probably learn how to use Word if you haven't already. Most of the word processors are the same. Now I'm in web layout. I have navigation view. So I tell all my stakeholders, make sure you turn on navigation view so you're able to move through the content in the report, right? And then from here, you know, if I want to, I can do all of the Word stuff, sizing the artifact, the diagram, able to do that. And so now the readers can look at a picture, which should be speaking 1,000 words, and they should be able to understand. So add new title, add new title. Here's a brief description. And then here is the connector information for each one of them. So they're able to navigate, oh, what's receive orders? They can go down here, receive orders, and they're right on it. So anyways, I just wanted to show you in Word. I'll cover in another session how to format in the template. So you can format here to do what you need to do. I'll cover it all in another session, such as if we go to Edit tab, you're able to insert and do a lot of the things that you can do in Word. You're able to insert table of content, page numbers. Here's table of content. We'll cover all of this, not all of it, but some of the important stuff. I'll cover that in a later session. So put those questions aside, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, look out for when that video comes out. So what does a report look like if we're in a more complicated package or progress, more advanced progress in developing use cases. Let's look at manage users again. And in this one, we've got the manage users use case, and we have a lot more information that's under the notes. We've built out these effective use cases from previous session on use cases. Let's go ahead and run this report using our list details template, right? So I'm on the package I want to report on. I'm going to hit function key 8 to bring up the dialog box. And we're just going to step on this previous output file, hit generate. It's a little larger, more complicated, takes a little bit longer. We're going to hit view. And now we're viewing the report. We've got the diagram in it. We've got login. We have a bunch of new stuff in here, some elements that weren't in the previous one. We've got triggers. What is all this about? Right? So you've got a lot more going on, many more pages, a lot more information in this. In addition, if you look at the model tree here, we go under login, we've got another diagram. This is a test diagram. We've got, in the test diagram, we've got login activity. We've got another diagram. Let me bring that up again. It's an activity diagram that took place during scenario building, which we talk about in the previous videos. And we've got a lot more going on in here, but why aren't these diagrams, rather these diagrams here, showing up in a report? You know, they're not showing up. We've got login triggers, there's no diagrams. Here's supposed to be a diagram right here. Why is that? All right, let's go ahead and close these. Let's get back to our template. Make sure this isn't open. We don't need this. I'm going to move it over to the left. Here's our template. Well, the reason is because we ran a diagram image underneath the package. So package, we ran a diagram image. However, in elements, if you go down, elements also allows you to print diagrams. So if I go down here, right here, we've got diagram under in between the element tags, open element, close element, and in this cycle, we are able to insert in a diagram. All right, so it put it in here for us. Again, the same principle. We can replace this text, highlight it all, right click, insert. We want to put in a diagram image, right? And we're going to hit Control Save, come back up to Manage Users, hit Function Key 8, bring up the dialog box, step on everything that's here, go ahead and generate. As soon as View pops up here for us, there we go. And now we see these diagrams, right? There's the activity diagram. We start seeing these diagrams. Now, it may not be pretty, a lot more work to do, and so on. So there's a lot of noteless elements that are here. We can actually filter those out. Let's do that next. So we're back over to our template. We're going to select this icon right here, Document Options. Go ahead and it brings up the Document Options dialog box. And we have options in here. We can hide noteless elements and we can hide noteless connectors. That means that there's no notes in there, so there's nothing worth reporting. And I'll leave that up to you. There's also other things that you can do, show status colors, and I'll get into all that later. You can play with that yourself. There's so much power in here. You've got exclude filters, all sorts of filters that you can build in and apply, custom queries, all of that. But we're just going to focus on the simple options you may be using more often. All right, select OK. Go to the package we want to report on. Function key 8 again to bring up our dialog box. Leave everything the same. We hit generate. Yes. Hit view. And now there are no noteless connectors and no noteless elements. Every one of them is populated. Now in this particular case, I'd be concerned because I want to show the connections. That means that this team, me, has not populated the associations between these actors and use cases, or use cases and use cases. So the report serves as a gap analysis, what work needs to be done, and we can continue to work from there. And if you want to hide diagrams that you just don't want showing in the report, and you can see that this diagram, the activity diagram, is not in the report, that's because it was noteless, right? So you can go, we're going to go ahead and close this. We can go to this diagram. I want to make sure it doesn't report, so I bring up the properties window for this diagram just simply by double clicking and in the white space. And I'm going to go to diagram, exclude image from documentation, right? And I can go to the test right here, the test case, double click in the white space in the diagram, or go over to properties via Alt and Enter key, the shortcut, and I can exclude image from documentation. Right now, when I run this report at this level, function key 8, and then we're going to accept leave everything the same, hit generate, and then hit view. Now those diagrams aren't showing. I have the content because there were notes about the test case, but the diagram's not showing, right? So the notes are. Okay, we're going to wrap up here. Now you've learned how to manage diagrams in your custom reporting, and we can move on to more complicated reporting from this point on. I promised you in the next session we would get to an actual solution approach document, and we're going to do that in our next session, starting with the list details template that we created. We'll see what that looks like. And then we'll go to a formal solution approach custom template going forward. All right, thanks very much for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next one. Happy modeling.